What my father left behind was this classic 8mm Bell & Howell movie camera. I have no idea where he got it from. What I do know is it took these classic home movies from our 1965 trip to Greece. Before that, I estimate 1958, it took this footage of the Hofstra College Spring Debutante Parade as it rolled right down Hempstead Turnpike in front of campus. I'm told we watched it from the balcony on the northwest corner of campus. Years later, my brother and I rediscovered the camera. And this is really led by my brother John. He was the brains and creativity behind it. He knew how to do stuff. I was learning from him. I guess it was our experimental trick photography stage. If it moved, we made it move. We made things multiply, took phantom walks. We played with everything. We upped the disappearing trick bar to people. It made it easier. You didn't have to set up the cups and the plants and the props. If you came to our house for a visit back then, expect to disappear. This is my friend Marty. My mother loved him. If you ever heard of the clothing brand Ronnie Nicole, well, Ronnie and Nicole are his daughters, and that's his company. We were proud senior co-captains of the Oceanside Sailors football team. We won 4-4-1. But it was 5th grade basketball when I first met Marty, along with my other great friend Chuck. They were my first friends when I moved into town. It took us years to admit, but Chuck was the best athlete out of all of us. He earned his way onto the Oceanside Wall of Fame for football, basketball, and baseball. We're all still very much in touch. On occasion, through handwritten notes. Marty continues to be as funny and generous as ever. And these are what we call the Freeport kids, the greatest cousins ever. Our grandmothers were sisters, and we spent so much time together. These days, Mare is still so busy, yet so great. Nitz left us way too early, and Louie has lived too far for too long. But there's so much more than cousins, or close friends, or confidants. We created what is called symbiotic synergy. Simply put, it's when bodies in close proximity create a whole greater than the sum of its parts. Blend it all together, and it becomes family. I'd like to point out that I was always the youngest of the group, and soon to be the tallest. I still am both. I love these guys for my entire life. Then came the driving years. I would stick my gawky, pencil-necked self out of the passenger window of my grandmother's Chevy Impala and take our dog Brittany out for a run. Imagine doing this in today's dog-centric world. Just let your dog run free on suburban lawns while some giraffe of a guy is hanging out a car window. Back then, no one seemed to mind. It didn't feel like we were doing anything wrong. No one complained or commented. Brittany got a great workout in, and we worked on our film technique. Brittany was a really good dog. All of it led to our attempt at a narrative. Here's an early one. 3 bored guys on a couch. They decide to go skiing and come back injured. Instant classic. Then there's this. After a storm, my grandmother comes out to survey the damage. She calls my grandfather to check things out, and he notices his grandson wrapped in a branch. And you all know the theme to this movie. This person is really not an ogre at all, just misunderstood. He's really a gentle-natured, kind, generous person who has trouble expressing himself socially and emotionally. He's too soft to hurt anyone. Here's an upbeat movie. I'm driving very dangerously and inappropriately, bonding with my cousin Necky. I accidentally lock him in a car. I get frustrated with my mother because she doesn't have a spare key. It ends sadly, and there was nothing we could do about it. This is my best friend Eddie on the right. We used to call these director cut movies. It was our code for cutting class and going to my place to direct a movie. We thought we'd get in less trouble that way. The irony of these films is Eddie never had a drink or quarrel with anyone. They all ended the same. Dennis would burst through the door and shoot us. Eddie's been a screenwriter in Hollywood for decades now. He's credited as the sole writer on a movie that was produced, released, and distributed called Phoenix, starring Ray Liotta. Bay City, his latest script, has a part for a Greek mobster named Kostas. The character is based on me. I'm begging him for the role. And my brother, he was great through all this. I would torture the poor guy. He had movie star good looks, a great physique, charisma, confidence, charm, dexterity. He really had a great screen presence. He was also athletic, set some high school marks back in the day. In fact, he was a pole vaulter. Do you know how much speed, strength, and sinew it takes to launch yourself over a pole? Try it. See if you could do it. He also had range. You could put him in any role. With his smarts and personality, he would take a concept, make it better, and then bring it to life. This is my favorite film of all time. It's called The Silent Conductor. It only took about an hour to make. John and I communicated in shorthand, by jargon and gesture. It was John's best performance. But I think I liked the movie so much because it gave me confidence. I began to believe that I could make at least this level of a movie. John and I went on to share all of life's moments, big and small. We were lucky to grow up so close. We were given a lot of freedom to explore and grow, and we knew we had a safety net. It was called Yaya, Papu, and Mom. To me, John was the best big brother you could ever have. I looked up to him, he cared about me, he shaped my thoughts and behavior. He was a great example, a core guy, my best friend. In every way possible, I am so lucky to have his influence in my life. Bit by bit, as we continue to orbit the sun, it looks like The Silent Conductor will be the last movie John and I will make together. I still needed a film to get into film school, my first without John, and I came up with this. Notice all the disgusting facial gesticulations. I still do all of them today, and I think I still have that shirt. In fact, I think I still wear it. But I was changing a lot that summer. I think I went through an emotional growth spurt. I wanted to evolve from who I was to who I wanted to be. I picked up running. It helped transform me. I did it daily for the next 35 years, and it became a big presence in my life. Who knows where I was running to or running from? Either way, none of it made a good film. It was all very unmotivated action. A lot of finger pointing, a lot of smoking, characters with nothing to do. It looked like a silent movie with less narrative. So I just had people point. I have no idea what was happening or what this film was about. What did happen before shooting one day, I stopped to get a bite to eat. Some guy came to the window and was staring me down while I ate. I felt uncomfortable and left. And he comes in and finishes the meal. By the afternoon, this scene was in the movie. Somehow, the keys were in the dead man's hand. Somehow, that was a big problem for me. The whole movie was a big problem for me. I knew I had nothing, John wasn't there to save it, and I could never send this to film school. So I dug deep inside of me and came up with my most dominant, positive, and negative attribute: persistence. I shut down production and came up with a new concept: persistence, a love story. A chance meeting, a simple twist of fate, and of course, a complicated romance. This production was a pleasure. As uncoordinated as the previous effort was, everything flowed in this movie. I was checking all the boxes: composition, cinematography, working with actors, surprise twists, camera pacing, reactions, transitions. Interestingly, making this film felt like a good run. When you put the effort in, you get good results. That's simple. I also experimented a little bit, try to get out of my comfort zone, try to make it street gritty, specifically so I could send it to NYU. And we pushed the envelope a little bit with scenes like this. A little risque for a student film at the time. I just turned 19 and was living in my grandmother's basement when I shot this scene. Done tastefully, I hope. Looking at it now, the plot line foreshadowed my life. Two people with deep passion for each other, but never at the same time. They just could never get their feelings and emotions on the same page. Well, they say you write what you know. I actually scored points with admissions for not having the characters get what they wanted. Weird positive reinforcement. But in the end, I got exactly what I wanted. I was accepted to NYU Film School, and it hit me like a steel ball. I wasn't sure what was next, but I knew I was going to keep running after it, just to see where it would take me.